Hello and welcome to the Weird Wanderer. We're going to talk about Halloween and its roots in ancient pagan celebrations. Lots of Indo-European celebrations came in many forms of worship, but were all held at around about the same time of the year and for strikingly similar reasons. I thought that we could first talk a little bit about modern day Halloween. What do we think of when it comes to Halloween? Of course, some of the things that you might think of are parties, costumes, decorations, maybe even horror movie night. I think it all leads to a single thought, and that's if anything spooky, scary, or in any way unexplainable were to happen, it'd definitely happen on Halloween. Some people say Halloween is the time where the veil between our world and the spirit world is most thin. I'm sure plenty of you have probably heard something like that before. But what if I told you that people have believed that very same thing for well over 6,000 years? And not only that, but this very same sentiment has been believed across an entire continent, surviving through cultural and religious changes for thousands of years. What a strange coincidence. We have a lot of traditions that we don't understand the history of. Many come from ancient pagan traditions, like Samhain. Like many Indo-European religious celebrations, were about ancestral worship and the belief that various spirits, deities, ghosts, elves, fairies, you name it, would be wandering the earth, searching for loved ones, mischief, or even revenge. Samhain was traditionally celebrated in Ireland by the Gaelic Celts. During Samhain, the Celts would wear costumes while dancing around their communal bonfires. The dances had deep meaning and told the stories of life and death. Samhain was considered a time in which spirits could freely enter the world. These souls or spirits were respected and honored. However, some of these were also feared. Some of the costumes worn by the Celts during the festivities were believed to allow the living to hide from the feared spirits. While a lot has to do with death and other supernatural things, it was also about celebrating the seasonal change and hoping for a good harvest. This celebration being in accordance with the celestial movements, along with archaeological evidence like the Mound of Hostages, which is 5,000 years old. It's a burial site in Ireland, and it was built so that during certain times of the year, sunlight would shine through the mound. The indigenous peoples of Europe had something similar to a shared belief in the importance of solar movements, astrology, seasonal change, and the belief in a kind of natural magic, what we would call folklore or urban legends today. Hufflepuff being a very private event, not much is known, but what we do know is that during this time of the year, the Norse peoples thought that magical beings and spirits would be able to more easily move in and out of a spirit world, for lack of a better term. During this time, the Norse people believed that the elves were of special importance. What you're probably thinking of as an elf isn't the same thing that the Norse people believed. In their religion, the Norse people believed that the elves were their ancient ancestors. There's some ancient texts suggesting that the elves were in fact kings who were direct descendants from the Norse gods themselves. They were called the Yinglings. Zari, a Slavic tradition, directly translates to Night of the Grandfathers, another ancestral worship holiday at around about the same time of the year as well. They would light candles on the graves of loved ones. They would pour libations or liquid offerings to the gods and their ancestors, and they would also sit down and eat dinner with them. And the children would dress up and go around asking for gifts from, I guess, their neighbors. Martina, a Latvian solar holiday celebration. It was a specific celebration from a week-long festivity, I believe it was, marking the end of the time of the dead. The children would dress up, asking for gifts and treats. The adults would also dress up to scare the children. And the main theme for this particular holiday was around roosters and chickens. So the children would dress up as roosters or chickens, same with the adults. Very similar to Samhain and Halloween. Feast of Lemuria, now known as All Saints' Day. The pagans of Rome would exorcise the spirits or the Lemures from their homes. They would use offerings of beans and a special flour cake, among other things. As you can probably see, all of these celebrations are pretty close to being the same thing. As I might have previously mentioned, the indigenous peoples of Europe all held rituals to their gods and goddesses, and also to their ancestors. The reason why this is important is because this is what the Catholic Church realized during the Christianization of Europe. The Church attempted to subvert the more popular pagan celebrations. These traditions were so deeply ingrained into the people that even hundreds of years after the successful conversion of Europe, the Church still had issues with even Christians celebrating the pagan traditions. The influence of the Catholic Church is vast. Only Northern Europe, Far East Russia, and parts of the Middle East are so far untouched, but it was only a matter of time before the region would adhere. Over the centuries, the names and reasonings changed, but the rituals never did. The connection between Samhain and other Indo-European religions have a clear and direct lineage to modern-day Halloween. The immigration into America during the 19th and 20th century, specifically the British Isles, Scotland and Ireland. This is where Samhain or All Hallows Eve was celebrated. At this time, they would carve pumpkins to capture evil spirits. They would dress up in costume to hide from evil spirits. They would also collect candies and leave out offerings for spirits. They would then introduce these same traditions and rituals into American society. Over the years, everyone and the ideas that they brought with them slowly assimilated and Americanized into broader society. Now, unfortunately, it has become so commercialized, just like Christmas, Easter, and Valentine's Day, completely devoid of meaning, leaving only the desire to consume and spend. Thank you for watching. Check the description below for further reading. I have a podcast on this episode and any other episodes that you see on my channel. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Happy Halloween.